Hey everyone, I hope y'all are doing well. I am up in the mountains for the weekend at our cabin. We were fortunate enough to have purchased this about 10 years ago. It gives us a chance to have a home base when we come up to the mountains. We're actually up here to do some renovations and some work this weekend, but I'm in the mountains. I got to sneak out and take some pictures, right? So it's really foggy today. And Jason's on his way over to pick me up. He lives just down the road. And in fact, we kind of met because we bought this cabin up here. And that's a story I'll have to tell you all sometime. But anyway, we're going to head up into the higher elevations of the mountains and see what we can find. See if we get some fog, some kind of moody trees, some pathways. No telling. The trees can be really pretty this time of year without the leaves on them. They're very interesting, the filigree of the branches and everything, so that might be something I'm focused on today, but I'm just going to kind of see what Mother Nature gives me as we get up there, and I'm hoping I'll get something pretty decent. Certainly the light is good, and it is quite foggy in different areas of the mountains right now, so there is some potential, and hopefully this works for us. So Jason will be here in just a minute. We're going to get going. So Jason and I are on the AT right now. It's pretty cold up here. We're at a good solid 3,500 feet in elevation, maybe a little higher. There's actually still some snow on the ground from previous snowfall, but it's really foggy, it's pretty windy, and there's a definite mood. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of walking through these woods and I'm looking for a composition. I'm looking for a tree, a couple of trees that kind of catch my eye. Actually, I think I just saw one right now while I'm on camera with you. Let me show this to you. So I just now saw this. I kind of like how these trees are situated. With that one right there, it's got all of the green moss on it. It's got these kind of big, gnarled, used to be perhaps branches coming off of it. And then of course there's lots and lots of fog on the other side. So I think I'm gonna set up and shoot this and just see how it comes out. So this is what I've got. I've got this bigger tree that's closer on the left. Got this small one with the really interesting roots on the right. And I've got the really gnarled tree with the really interesting trunk right up the center. And then I think what's really gonna make this shot, honestly, is I've got some little clumps of grass right here in the foreground. And so I'm gonna focus stack this and assemble it all in Photoshop. And I think with the mood, the fog, and a little bit of this green moss that it's on the trees, it could come out pretty well. So I'm just kind of lukewarm on how this composition turned out, and let me tell you why. To the right of the trees is kind of an open, empty, foggy area, but it kind of creates an imbalance to the overall composition due to the heaviness and the size of the tree on the left. I couldn't really compose it too differently because of how the trees were in relation to each other, so this one just didn't quite work out for me. right, so it's pretty cold, so we are warming our fingers back up because we both forgot gloves, but the conditions are pretty fantastic. I mean, you can't complain about super foggy, leafless trees, really flat light, and it's on the Appalachian Trail, so all that came together pretty well. I think that both of us probably got some pretty good images, and I think we're actually going to go back out here after at least I warm up my hands again because I can't feel my fingers. So I'm up here on top of the mountain now, kind of walking through this wild azalea forest, and it's really pretty, and there's a lot of green moss. The name of the game with these images up here is moss. They're green, they add this splash of color to an otherwise very drab, very dull, very moody landscape, and they follow the path. They go on either side, so it creates natural leading lines. It draws you into the image in a really kind of dramatic way because of the fog and because of the lack of other color in the landscape. So let me show you a few that I was able to capture up here. So we're coming off the mountain, and it was pretty brutal conditions up there. I am not great in super cold weather, so I was basically losing all finger in my, and so I was basically losing all feeling in my fingers, but I stuck it out. I think I got some good stuff. What about you, Jason? You think you got anything?
Man, that's kind of like what I like to shoot. I mean, those gnarly trees and the fog and the mood.
Yeah.
I think both of us actually prefer that to the epic landscapes, but
I think when we were up there, we were both kind of drawn to a lot of the same scenes and similar compositions, but I'm pretty confident we shot them all differently, and so that's why I think these videos that we're putting together right now, y'all will enjoy watching both of them, because you'll get to see our two perspectives, even though we were in the same vicinity of each other the entire time. But anyway, this day is a wrap, but we're getting up early and doing some water tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. So Jason and I have come out to Helton Creek Falls this morning. We were kind of hoping for fog. When we left our places, which are like 5 miles from here tops, it was super fogged in. But now that we've arrived here, it's pretty clear. The light is flat. The sun hasn't really come up too much yet. So I still think there's potential to get something. This is one of those places I've photographed a bunch of times, but I like coming back to, and I like trying to find something different. It's really cold this morning, almost freezing. So I'm gonna try not to get too wet, but I do have some boots that I'm gonna bring with me so I can walk around in the water and open up possible compositions. And so anyway, we're gonna see how this goes. So I'm here at the waterfall. It's changed since the last time I came. There have been a couple times where there have been some really flooding rains. And so I think it has washed a bunch of rocks, the trees, the deadfall, and kind of just reoriented it all. So it's changed the composition potential, which I'm happy about. And I actually have seen something just now that I'm going to show you all. And I think it could be a really cool capture. It's kind of taking an idea that Jason had when we were here this summer. He captured an image that I really liked. It was a very different composition with Helton Creek Falls. And so I'm going to use that, but I'm going to put my own twist to it. I'm going to show you that here in just a second. So let me show you what I've done here. There is this little log sticking out of the water, and that is going to be the focal point for the eye. And I'm blending exposures of slow and fast shutter speeds to account for the falling water as well as that log. But here's the catch. That log is moving. The water is moving it, so it's very blurry. So I'm gonna have to shoot one exposure of the log sticking out of the water at a high shutter speed to freeze it, and then blend that in Photoshop. So that's kind of what I'm after, and I think the resulting image is gonna look good. You tell me what you think. Down at the lower part of Helton Creek Falls, and I was just talking to Jason about this. Neither of us have ever gotten an image down here that we really like. It's a very challenging waterfall to shoot because it's just really hard to find an interesting foreground or something that really leads you into the fall. I think the fall itself is pretty, but I've never photographed it well. I've never gotten a photograph that I like. So it's been about a year since I've tried. I feel like my eye's gotten a little better. Also my knowledge of what I can do to blend images and things. So I'm kind of looking right now to see if I can get an image that might be different and that might finally satisfy me when it comes to taking a picture of this waterfall. And also, there's some fog up there above the waterfall that has kind of rolled in. And that adds a little extra element, and that might help me finally kind of get over this hump. So I walked around a little bit. I kind of inspected the water. There's some nice rocks and things further away from the falls that could be used as a foreground, but I needed to be close to the falls because I'm going really wide and I want to get the fog at the top. And so I found a spot where the water is rushing over a rock and it's kind of creating a V. And that's what I'm shooting, and I've shot it with 2 different compositions. And I'm going to show both of them to you. And if you have one you prefer, I'd love to hear it in the comment section. One is going to incorporate the staircase that comes down from the trail, and the other is just going to be the falls itself. And so, do you feel like one of those is stronger? Let me know. As always, thanks a lot for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, you can simply thank us by liking and subscribing to the channel. We have a lot more planned, a lot more locations, a lot more content. We really do enjoy creating for you all. During my time here, I was able to capture some more images that you haven't seen yet here in this episode, so I'm going to add them at the end. And I'm also going to recap some of the others that you've seen here today. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.